All right, what's up, everyone? Happy Monday. Welcome back, or welcome in general if you're new. Welcome. Episode 254. How's it going, Jen?
Great. How are you?
Amazing. I'm so good. All right, today we're going to talk about why I've been thinking about this, so I wanted to touch on the 5 modes that we came up with a while back. I think it was episode 231. I'll just double check real quick. Let's see. Yes, episode 231, the 5 modes every salon owner must learn to lead in. And I thought it would be cool to talk about that stuff again because there are a lot of people out there that stay busy, but they're never really building their business. They're never progressing. They're never moving forward. And I think that we've had, Jen and I both, light bulbs click over the years that are like, okay, when I'm doing this, I need to be doing this. Thinking. And I think that maybe it'll help some people. Maybe not. I don't know. But it'll be fun to chat about. Either way, we always start with our opening takes. Jen, you usually go first.
Sure, I'll go first. We are into currently, I don't know when you're listening to this, but July is the month we are in right now. And typically one of the slower months of the year for the salon. I actually haven't felt the slowness yet, but generally July is fairly slow. Anyway, I say that because I see often in certain slow months for salon ownership or stylists saying, I'm really slow. What can I do to get busy? And if you're asking that in the slow month, you're already behind. Sorry to say, I know that probably hurts. It's like a stab in the heart, but you are already behind. So you need to prep for these slow months. And I'm going to give you a little insight of like what Todd and I have done for this month for July to prep to kind of keep the staff busy and some stuff that we do outside of the salon this month to keep us busy. So we talk a lot about relationships. We have relationships with our local banks. Happen to be this local bank reached out through our name got mentioned and my last salon, this is the bank I did business with. And they were just looking for a hairdresser to help with an event and do some hair for kids, whatever. It's like a small business kind of thing in a park. Would we be available? And it is a paid event. So this was great because we have some newer stylists that aren't as busy. So they are happy to get out in the community, sort of, what is that when you, market themselves.
I was going to say participate. I don't know.
Participate, market themselves. But they're also going to get paid. So this is very exciting. And it's also an opportunity. I will bring our daughter to help with this event too, because this summer we've been working on getting our 2 older kids a little bit involved with the business so they understand how it operates. But this, again, gives an opportunity for the salon to make some money, not even inside of the salon. So you could come in the inside of the salon and be like, wow, it seems slow in here. But we are doing things outside of the salon to offset that. The other thing, I have some pretty great relationships with some stylists in the community, and one of them had her client reach out and they were doing a photo shoot for their business coming up, and could we travel? And we have some talented staff that enjoys doing this kind of style work. So that's another thing we will be doing this month outside of the salon to help market, and potentially you never know who you're going to meet and get clients from. But these are 2 different things in a month that's generally slow to start to help our staff feel still busy, get paid, and do some other work when maybe their books in the salon aren't as busy, and keep their focus on fun and new activities. And it's, I think, going to be super successful. But this is stuff, if you are having slow months, you need to find innovative ways to be creative and do some different stuff. Last year, I think we offset with we had some weddings, and that really helped too. But not every year looks the same. So this July looks a little different, and we have some new opportunities.
Jen, what's the saying there? So there's this saying that's something like, the more effort I put in, the luckier I get. Something like that. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know exactly how it goes.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Well, that's like, this is a good example of that. The more effort you put in. So if you sit around wondering what you can do, like there's a time for brainstorming. We're actually going to talk about this in the episode, but there's a time for just action too. Like just get out there, make relationships, nurture the relationships, get after it. And then you never know what future opportunity is going to pop up. Yeah. But the more you put into those relationships, the more opportunities are likely to pop up. If you don't, then you're not going to be quote unquote lucky at all. Because a lot of people are probably like, oh, you're lucky that you got picked for this. No, we formed a relationship with the people at the bank. They know us.
Yes, and it happened. And we formed relationships in the community, and there was some members of the community that mentioned the salon in my name, and then the woman from the bank, since again we have a relationship from my previous salon, she was like, "Can you take a call just to figure out if it's a good fit for you or for us, whatever?" And that's how that went. And actually, it was cool because our oldest son was in the car, so I was like, "Marley, we're going to do this call together. You can see how business relationships start off," and it was cool for him to even be part of that or listen in.
Really cool for him.
Yeah.
All right, my opening take's not as positive. But here we are. This is just an observation that I made recently. And there's a lot of these self-proclaimed industry gurus and experts. And what they do is they create a problem in order to sell you the solution. And I get it. It's marketing. You have to create an enemy. But are these enemies even real? For example, I saw this ad that said, "It's harder than ever to own a salon." And I was like, wow, that's kind of doom and gloom. Like, why would you start with that? And I get it. They're trying to sell you their course, but for who? Like, why? Said who? And what is this actually based on? Nothing. It's based on someone wanting to sell you their course. So don't let people create fake enemies for you. You have enough stuff to deal with as a business owner than to allow someone to creep into your head and prey upon the fact that you might be struggling in one aspect, but it doesn't mean that it's harder than ever to run a business. I think it's probably easier than ever to run a business if we're being realistic. You have the internet, you have groups, you have information, you have distributors, there's more content on how to run a business than there's ever been in the history of the world. Yes. It's just you have to curate things, you have to sort through it. And that's where a coach or a mentor can help you, that they buy you speed, or at least they're supposed to. But don't just fall for every doom and gloom post out there because they're tugging on your heartstrings or whatever. However that saying goes too. I get all the sayings, but I don't have all the sayings, apparently. All right, let's dive into this. So how often have you heard or thought or whatever somebody say, "I just don't have enough time"? And honestly, when people say that, I believe them. I just think they don't have enough time. Not because they're running out of time, because we all get the same time. It's that they're not focused on, or they don't understand where to focus that time. And so when you're constantly doing things over and over again without getting any sort of change, that's because you're doing things that don't compound. And in episode 231, we talked about the 5 modes, which are operations, systems, leadership, strategy, and crisis. And every single owner in every single industry is going to spend time in those modes, or needs to spend time in those modes. And it's more of a mindset thing. It's more of a how to focus. And we'll get into all this stuff, but none of these modes are necessarily optional. None of them are bad. Every business is going to require you to be in all 5 of them. The only one that you don't really have a choice over is crisis mode. You can't really choose a crisis. You can't be like, "Oh, I'll start a fire so that I have a crisis." That would be a crazy person, right? So the question isn't which mode is the most important and which is the key to the success. It's maybe which mode have I been unintentionally even neglecting? And I think you can find a lot of answers to your business there, because we've found a lot of answers to our business in those modes. So first thing I want to touch on is busy work versus compounding work. So being busy isn't the goal. And a lot of stylist owners out there I've seen that are just like almost spinning the wheels. And I think you've probably done this in the past, Jen, where you're like, okay, the business is suffering somewhere. I'll just work more behind the chair.
Right.
And that doesn't really compound. You working behind the chair is great for that day, but how did it help the next day? It didn't. It might have floated you money and whatever, but how does that?
But long term, how do you keep up with that, right?
Exactly. So a lot of owners are like, all right, I want to take a step back from the chair. Great. That's a great goal to have. And then they start doing things like cleaning, folding laundry, ordering color, answering texts, rearranging retail, scheduling appointments, running errands. Are those things necessary? Absolutely. Are they compounding? No.
No.
Because tomorrow you have to do them all again.
And anybody can do those type of tasks.
Correct. That's the real win, is when you can start passing those things off to other people.
Yeah.
So what are some things that an owner can do that actually compounds? Quick list: writing your handbook, working on your handbook, creating standard operating procedures, building your apprenticeships, working on your pricing system, recording a podcast, writing the blogs, building your website, coaching your staff, focusing on whatever KPIs that work in your business, improving your hiring process. Those are all things that create value long term once you've built them out. And we also have been talking a lot about tier A salons versus everyone else. Again, just another thing I came up with to put a label on something. But a lot of people would ask, what should I do today? And they're focused on today, where I feel like a tier A business operator would say, what do I want tomorrow to look like? And then what do I have to do to get there? Because busy work is what's going to keep you alive, sure, but compounding work is what's going to build you a better tomorrow.
Right. It's just that long-term vision, which most people lack.
Yeah, it's not always easy to see. I don't necessarily want to sit down and write a handbook, but I know that we need that to rely on to show people, or to have a written copy of the way that we want things run in our business.
Right.
Let's do a quick refresher on the 5 modes. Again, you can go back and listen to episode 231 where we talk about this more in depth. This should be like a 1 minute. It's not a deep dive. It's just like a little refresher. So operations, that's what keeps your business running today. So this is, you're doing clients, you're working on the schedule, payroll, banking, inventory, cleaning, that stuff. Systems, this is where you're building assets that improve your tomorrow. So examples are those operating procedures, the handbook, pricing formulas, hiring process, apprenticeships, checklists, your KPI dashboard, however. Leadership, this is where you're growing people. So examples are your one-on-ones, your coaching, your difficult conversations, your team meetings, accountability, recognition, education, all that stuff that's building others in your business. Strategy, again, this is creating your tomorrow or your direction for tomorrow. This is your fundamentals. You've heard us talk about this if you've been on this podcast at all ever. That's your mission, your vision, your marketing direction. This could be your reading, your learning, your thinking time, your long-term planning, future opportunities, that stuff. And then crisis mode is, this is protecting the business. And examples of this are like you had a flood, like we did. You have a fire. You have a major equipment failure. You have a serious client issue. You have a true emergency, something that requires you to focus just on that. Now, not every inconvenience is a crisis. So a stylist calls out on a busy day. Is that a true crisis? Probably not. Because all you have to do is, one, make sure that stylist is okay. That's what you should be doing first. Not getting mad at them. Make sure they're okay. Reschedule the clients. Problem solved. Is it inconvenient? Yes. Will it affect the money coming into your business? Yes. Is it a true crisis? No.
That's a quick turnaround.
Yeah, a true crisis is a pipe burst and you're shut down for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a true crisis. All right, moving on. Do you have anything to add, Jen? I feel like I'm just rambling. I wanted to get through that quick because we've already talked about it. So there's no need to harp on it. But I know some people may be new. They haven't listened to that episode. They maybe missed it. They forgot, whatever. So those are the 5 modes or 5 mindsets, if you will, that you need to be able to focus on and separate. The next thing I wanted to talk about, Jen, was diagnosing before you act. So I feel like this is kind of what we opened with, but this is where a lot of owners that we talk to get stuck. So business slows down, for example, immediately they think stuff like, I'll take more clients, I'll work harder, I'll stay late, I'll do more hair, I'll add Saturdays back in. And that will create some revenue for you, but that's not solving the actual problem. You probably don't need to be behind the chair. You probably need to focus on other things. For example, when you're working behind the chair, you're not able to build systems that support the people that are working under you. You're not able to work on improving your strategies. You're not able to develop your staff and make them leaders. You're not able to solve reoccurring problems, like the problems that constantly come up that you're like, why am I always solving this problem? It's because you're not going into the right mode and sitting down and really creating a process to solve that. There was something recently that happened. One of our staff reached out and said whatever they said, and I was like, why does this person ask the same question every time? I want to go look at what this is and create like a more solid system. So because every time this comes up, they're asking the same question. We've already
So we have to look at the system.
Yes, or the person. Why are you not getting this? Because everyone else seems to get this. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, as the leader, you have to be able to figure those things out, or you're going to be solving the same problems. And you don't want a business where you're just going around solving the same problems over and over again in a circle.
Yeah, that requires a step back. So you kind of like, why is this happening?
Right. What mode are you neglecting that would solve that problem? Is it leadership? Do I need to teach the person how to figure this out on their own? Or is it building out an operating procedure that's a little more simple for the person? Either way, it doesn't matter. It's just, where do we have to go to get back into that?
I think if you're leading a team, and we see this often, like, how do I step back? I think you have to also decide, what hat are you going to wear majority of the time? Is it the stylist hat, or is it the owner, manager, leader of the team hat? So my opening take, when this bank had reached out to help, it happens to be a Saturday that I'm working, and I only work 2 Saturdays a month. So that's a Saturday that's full for me. So I could have easily kept on my stylist hat and been like, I have clients, so this is a missed opportunity. Or, since we own the salon, I lead the salon, we're working to build the team, I saw the opportunity that it's time to reschedule my clients and take our 2 newest team members, because we're building a culture. We talk about that a lot. And I think this is a great kind of cultural event for them to see. And when I say that, I mean how we work as Hello Hair Co. in the community, right? One of them has never done that. One has been part of that, a small portion. So it was my job to quickly be like, yes, we're doing this. And then reach out to my clients like, hey, I have an event this day. I need to move you. You need to reschedule, which they did, so that I could be available, because they need Todd or I there to run this event. And the way this event works, I'm the better pick out of us for what we're doing for this event. But I could have easily, like I said, just kept on my stylist hat and just kept plugging away. But for the future, and the opportunity would have been missed here for potential, whether it's clients or not, or just getting our name out there, or again, just showing these 2 people what we look like in the community. That's a bigger win for the future, that I don't know how that's going to work, but I know that it's going to help us in some capacity. And I trust our process for me to take the day off of work and work on this part.
Okay. I feel like you said a lot of things there. That's okay. I think it's a great thing too. And most salon owners, Jen, would probably be like, I can't do that. I have clients that day. And they're afraid to lose the clients, and they're afraid to adjust things. And a big part of our business is giving the clients what they need and taking care of the clients and not inconveniencing clients. But we also have to weigh that out with the future growth of the business. So, are the clients inconvenienced? Yes. Do they understand what you're doing and think that's cool and want to hear about that after? Also, yes.
Of course.
So that is something that compounds. So it's an easy decision. I wouldn't go out rescheduling your clients every week.
Absolutely not.
But there are going to be times that come up. And if you need permission, as Jen said, she says all the time, if you need a cosigner, this is it. It is okay to move people. And if you're so scared that you're going to lose clients, you're going to have to put on a different hat. You're going to have to read a book. You're going to have to grow up a little bit. I don't know what else to tell you, because it's not, your clients aren't going to leave you because you're taking the day to go work in the community and help some kids. So we had talked about what everyone thinks. For example, a lot of salon owners think, I have this problem, I'll just work more. Where a tier A owner would think differently would be, okay, the business is struggling. Where? Why is the business struggling? And then what mode do I have to go into, or what mindset do I have to go into to solve this problem? What have I been ignoring? What don't I know about the situation? And then how do I solve this problem permanently, instead of what we talked about was repeatedly just keep solving reoccurring problems. Yeah, you're not going to outwork your problems. You're not just going to work harder. and solve problems if you're not in the right mindset. And I think that's what a lot of owners try to do. Again, not just this business, but how many times have you heard people say in any industry, I'll just do it myself? That's because they don't know how to solve the problem. So they think I'll just muscle through. No one can do it like me anyways. They start to think all these things.
I think a lot of people forget to step back and look at the problem and figure out, is it one that you should solve, or is it one that you can offload, create a system and move in a different direction? But when you're in spaz mode, that's not even a mode we're talking about, but it is a spaz mode type thing. You do the I'll just do it myself thing. And again, you're going to have to keep doing it yourself, which doesn't free you up to do other tasks that would help your business grow in the future.
Yeah. So let's get into that a little bit. Every mode or mindset deserves your full attention. For example, and this could be probably the biggest takeaway for people, or the biggest light bulb moment for people in this episode. But if you have a problem with, I don't know, just say you're behind the chair and you are working with clients. That's great. That deserves your full attention because those clients are paying you for the service. What you shouldn't be doing is, okay, my client's processing. I'm going to run outside and work on standard operating procedures. You're not going to be able to shift in and out of those modes that quickly. And so now your clients are getting, when you come back after your client's processed, you're still probably going to be in that mindset of creating your operating system. So that's where your mind is going to be focused, not on the client. Again, when you're working on building systems or your marketing or whatever you're working on, build your systems or work on your marketing. Don't stop to answer texts and emails and book clients and do all that stuff, because that sort of deep work, when you can really get into it, people call it flow. When you can get into a flow and just work, it's going to produce a better and stronger outcome for you than if you're trying to answer, my employees are reaching out about this. And again, it's not a crisis, so you don't have to address it immediately. Mm-hmm. My employees are reaching about this, but I have to get back to them. And this needs to get cleaned, so I'm going to clean this. And then I need to write this, but this client texted. And if I don't get them in, they're going to go to another salon. You have to be able to focus. So shut off your alerts, shut off your notifications, and just get to work on that stuff. Leadership, let's go through some examples. Say you're having a one-on-one with your staff member. You need to be fully present. You can't be checking confirmations and doing emails. People are going to know that they kind of half have your attention, and then guess what? They don't feel heard. And then that doesn't,
and then they're only giving you half their attention back.
And then that doesn't compound. But if you give them attention, those meetings that we have with our staff once or twice a year are so valuable, because we get to sit with them and hear what they really want to say. It's in private. They can say anything to us. And so that compounds, that builds trust, that builds buy-in from them, that builds buy-in to the culture, that builds all the things that you want to build with your strategy, your business. Strategy is the next thing that I had on my list here. And this one takes uninterrupted thought. When you're strategizing, think about alone time. Maybe you're sitting quietly. Maybe you take a walk. Maybe you're reading. Maybe you are listening to a podcast. Maybe you are journaling. Protect that time. That's your idea time. That's where you're like, where do I want to take this thing? How do I get it there? And you're just thinking about it. All joking aside, crisis mode, just work on your breathing. Seriously, you're the owner of the business, and it would be so much easier to just freak out and lose your shit. But you don't have the luxury of doing that. You don't have the luxury of panicking, because you can be scared. But because your team, if you lead a team, they're watching you.
Yeah, your job is to problem solve. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Your clients, they're watching you. How do you react under pressure? So you have to be someone that thinks clearly. You've got to make one decision at a time. You got to triage your business, and then the next decision, then the next decision. And that's strong leadership. It just is what it is. Again, You can choose to go into any of these modes. When you choose to go in, when you're working behind the chair, work behind the chair. Just do that. Mm-hmm. It's okay to have, I'm not saying don't ever clean your salon. That's silly for me to say. What I'm saying is when you're doing that, do that. And don't expect something like that to compound. That's all I'm saying. All right. I want to touch on where this even came from, because I was thinking about it and I'm like, where did this even stem from? And it wasn't the 5 modes thing or the 5 mindsets is just something that sort of clicked. It's not something I read anywhere. It's not something I learned back. Oh, I guess I did learn it, but I learned it on my own. It was back when we had the gym. I would be, say, for example, cleaning and thinking, oh, I should write this for the programming next week. And then before you know it, the cleaning gets like half-assed done. And then I'm over on the whiteboard writing notes down. And you're trying to solve all these different problems at once. And it's really hard to focus on anything because you're always like half. And a lot of people out there will say, well, I'm a good multitasker. You're not. Human brains, I don't want to get too crazy, but they're not capable of multitasking. You have to shift between the tasks in your mind. So if you're doing an email while you're having a meeting, if that person's talking while you're typing, you're not listening to them. You think you might be listening, you might hear the words, but you're not actually understanding what they're saying. There are so many things you're not picking up on, whether it's their body language, whether it's their tone, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not how our brains work. You cannot multitask. And I know someone out there is going to argue, but there's
no way you're going to be efficient in any of them if you're doing that. And to what you're saying, if you're emailing while talking to someone else, neither one of those are actually getting your undivided attention, which means neither one of them is getting 100% of what you truly bring to the table. So you're split on whatever percentage, which means you're just half-assing everything. So nothing is actually going to grow and move in a great direction because your brain needs to focus on that one thing to give it everything to grow that, then move on to the next. You owe it to yourself and then you owe it to your future business for that stuff.
Yeah, I had worked with some past business mentors and they would ask me to do these things and I'm like, I have to think in a different way about these different tasks. And that's when it clicked for me that I needed to intentionally shift gears or shift modes or shift mindsets. And when you do that, everything becomes easier. When you're working on your pricing structure, just work on the freaking pricing structure. Don't do other things and it's going to come out way better. And I know we all get distracted and we all have phones and we all have, well, some of us have kids and families and spouses, whatever. You have all this stuff, I get it, but turn your notifications off and give yourself an hour a day to focus on one thing that you've been putting off and really focus on it. And I guarantee you it will compound. It's so much easier to go kick out a big chunk of a handbook in a focused hour than to write than to write a paragraph and then go, all right, I should check my email. No, you shouldn't. Don't do that. You're just setting
and it's also treating yourself. We all need self-discipline. So if you're going to focus on that for an hour, then focus on it for an hour. And before you know it, you'll get in that mode a lot quicker and your bad habits will become better habits, which will become great habits. And it'll be a lot easier for you to do it.
For sure. The only one of these that's a little bit different is the crisis mode. Let's talk about that for a second. So crisis mode, I've said you can't choose to put yourself in crisis mode, nor should you want to. But I do think there's value in recognizing when you're in crisis mode because now you know your job. And your job is like triage the situation, protect the people, protect the business, solve the next problem. And the flood that we had this year was a perfect example for us. The first thing was safety. Is it safe to even be here? Because we had kids with us. Also, it's a flood. I want to make sure there's no electricity. That was the first thing we had to do was safety. Then it was stop the water. Then it was call the insurance, call the plumber. It was one step at a time, just go through. And we had all of that stuff solved within probably the first 2 hours that we were on site. And you want to be perfect, but you're not going to be. You're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Panic is not going to help you, though. So when you recognize that, okay, I'm in this crisis mode, what do I have to do next? I'm in crisis mode. What do I have to do next? You're giving yourself permission to work on the problem. You're not trying to solve anything else. You don't need to panic. And you just need to solve the next problem that's right in front of you. And that puts you one step closer to the light at the end of the tunnel or whatever saying you want to put there, which gives you a little bit of peace of mind. I know I'm in crisis mode, but freaking out isn't going to help me.
Isn't going to help.
Yelling at my staff, like say, for example, someone left the sink on. I don't know how this would happen. And your whole place flooded. Now, calling that person and yelling at them is not going to solve your problems. It might feel good temporarily, and then you're going to feel like a jerk after. But you have to solve the problems. What's actually going to solve the problems first? And so that crisis mode, again, when you allow yourself to recognize that you're in it, I think there's a piece that comes with that. I don't know how you experienced that, Jen, but when we first walked in, we were like, what the F? Look at oh my God. And then it's, all right, enough of that. That was probably 60 seconds. What do we do next?
Don't freak out.
What do we do next? What do we do next? And are mistakes made? Yeah, sure. Are you a human being? Yeah. So mistakes will get made. Just try to get out of that crisis mode as quick as possible. And the only way you're going to do that is just solve the problem that's in front of you, one at a time.
Yeah, I think the quicker you can get into the problem solving of the crisis, the better you will be. And it will put you at peace because you're putting it all back together. You have a plan. When you do not have a plan and you just feel like you're just treading water, that's where you're going to just sit in that mode for as long as until you deal with it. And it's not going away usually.
Yeah.
So you got to deal with it.
Yeah. I agree 100%. So let's talk a little bit about this stuff because this some of these modes are the less sexy part of business ownership because you're not going to get applause for things like writing an operating procedure. No one's going to be like, yay.
You did such a good job.
Yeah, nobody's going to applaud you for writing a handbook or reviewing your financials or just sitting down and thinking. When did that disappear? I don't know. What year was it when everything was on our phones and constant distraction? Whenever that was, you've got to be able to unplug a little bit. And I don't even care if you turn your phone off or whatever, but put your phone down or put it in your pocket and go take a walk and think about your business. Or don't think about your business. That maybe you need just time unplugged from your business too. But either way, go do something, go sit by the water and sip a coffee and think about your business and where you picture it in the future. And then you can start to come up with a plan of how you want to get there. The last thing you want to do is start scrolling because, again, everyone's going to present you with the problem to sell their course. So you're going to get distracted and then you're going to probably try to take shortcuts because, again, it's that we're not getting feedback immediately on having one-on-one meetings or coaching your staff or having a difficult conversation or planning for the future. You're not going to get celebrated. Nobody's putting that stuff on Instagram, right? But those are
and there's no instant gratification generally in it either, which is a world we live in. So that becomes tricky for people too.
Yeah, for sure. But those are the things that are going to compound and then transform your business though.
These are the things you have to do. It's part of being an owner and it's how you're going to grow your business.
I saw somebody post about that recently that said something like, I've created this system. I noticed there was a major gap in the industry of people who are super creative and amazing at doing hair, but they struggle with the business and they don't know how to do that. And I was like, this isn't new. You didn't discover this. We've been talking about it for, I don't know, a long, long time before we even had the business. Or this business.
Yeah, those two aren't mutually the same. Very different hats you have to wear.
No, they're not. You don't go to cosmetology school to learn how to run a business, and you don't go to business school to learn how to cut hair. It's that simple. So,
and you shouldn't expect either one to do the other thing.
Yes, and that's almost what this person was implying. They were like, so you're not going to learn this stuff, so I've created a system to teach it. Again, they're trying to just latch on to something to sell you whatever course that they created.
Right.
And all those things. So, for example, I would consider Hello currently to be a success, right? We're heading in the right direction. I think it's not where we necessarily want it to be. This isn't the end game for it, but it's heading in the right direction. But it didn't get to where it is now from one big decision or something super sexy that we could post.
Right.
It's
baby steps.
It's those hundreds of invisible things, right, Jen? So this podcast, for example, this podcast has given us opportunities. It's introduced us to people. It's gotten people to reach out. It's whatever, right? Clients like it. It's built culture with our staff. Our staff likes it. Things like our newsletter, our apprenticeship, building out our mission, our vision, our values, building our website. working on all the systems behind the scenes, all the education, all that stuff that goes in. We do put some of that stuff on social media because it's such a big part of Hello's identity. But still, it's not super flashy. You can look around, everybody's doing education or they are claiming it. Working on our culture. None of those single things dramatically changed the business on the first day that we did it. We didn't put out a podcast and all the business problems were solved. We didn't write a single newsletter. We didn't work on the website one time and be like, all right, everything's good now.
Right.
So, but those are the things, like Jen, like you said, you have to do that stuff because those are the things that do compound.
Right.
It's just work. And we can talk about how to make it less work in another episode, because there are ways you can create workflows and you can leverage things, and that stuff can become systematized in a sense too. Like when we do this podcast, it used to take me hours to do it. And now we have software and AI and all this stuff that just, it writes our transcripts, it takes the words, it can draft your blog posts, it can do all the stuff for you in minutes. So yeah, maybe we can do an episode on that. Sort of the thing I think I want to kind of close with, Jen, is thinking about tomorrow. It's really the biggest question. Where, again, what did I say in the beginning? Everyone wants to know or thinks, what should I do today? What do you want tomorrow to look like? And that'll dictate what you do today. And I guess I'm being a little philosophical here, but I don't mean literal tomorrow. I mean in the future, in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, what do you want your business to look like? And
yeah, I think that's really important to even have that vision and write that down and create that roadmap. It's probably not going to look the same as what you create, but the point is that you're moving in that direction because you have created
exactly. Yeah, you're going to have a direction. That's what's important, is having a direction, because if you're not moving forward, if you're not progressing, you're regressing by definition. Yeah. So you have to be moving forward. Even you can change the direction in the future, but you have to be headed somewhere, or else your business is slowly rusting in a way, right? Complacency.
And then it's way harder. The uphill battle is just so much bigger.
Yeah. So real quick, what are some things? If your tomorrow includes, I want to improve the culture of my business, today's work needs to be leadership. You have to work with people.
Yeah.
If it's, I need to find better staff, I need a better hiring system, I need to attract people, then today's work is systems and strategy. Think about what you want it to look like. Go put your noise canceling headphones on, take a walk, think about what it looks like to work in your salon. And then when you get home or get to your office or whatever, it's systems day, baby. Get into that mode and create the system for it.
Yeah.
What about profit? That's probably a big one for a lot of people, right? Money. So today's work is going over your financial reviews, going over your pricing structures, identifying things that aren't profitable. Maybe you're losing money on a specific service. You should cut that service out. Just don't offer it. You can't afford, in business, you can't afford to just constantly give things away like that without repercussion.
Right.
And a lot of people struggle with that stuff. So sit down and figure that out. Maybe in 6 months, I want less chaos. This business, it just feels noisy. It feels messy, Jen. I can't handle it. It's overwhelming. You want less chaos? Today, you're working on building better systems, because those systems are going to take away those problems that are reoccurring that we talked about, right?
Right.
So your future should determine where you spend your attention today. Where you spend your time today is dictated by where you want to be in the future.
Yep. And there's your roadmap.
There's your roadmap right there. Again, you can create your own 5 modes. I don't care. I created it one day because I thought it might help people, and it definitely helps me. Because when I sit down to do work, I think, all right, what am I building? Because it helps me see the outcome and it helps me build it better. Whether it's doing something simple like the blog posts or working on the website or whatever. It could be daydreaming about the future I want for the business. Either way, when I have the goal in mind, then you can work it backwards to what should I be doing today to support my future?
Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
What else you got, Jen?
I think that's awesome.
All right, cool. Yeah, that's probably long enough. I rambled here, huh?
Yeah, you did a great job. I got to take a break.
What'd you say?
I got to take a break.
Yeah. Did you even talk a lot?
No, I don't
I'm
think
going to
so.
go pull the transcript and compare.
See where it's
Yeah.
at. I put my tidbits in.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Have a great day.